Hey everybody, this is William from the Godzilla Files coming at you today with another monster talk, and today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite kaiju, Biollante. So let's jump right in and let's start talking about her origin. Speaking of origins, Biollante is probably the most unique out of all the kaijus from the Godzilla series. She starts her life off as actually a human and is the daughter of Dr. Shiragami, who unfortunately dies in a lab accident. Well, lab bombing, I should say. And so in between the lab bombing and Dr. Shiragami moving back to Japan, he splices her cells with that of roses and has roses in his house that are now part Erica, part Rose. Right there just kind of tells you how crazy her origin is going to be. Because that's only part one. So unfortunately at this time Godzilla is starting to come back. You know, he's becoming more active and he's still in the volcano, which because of this, he's causing earthquakes and basically the volcano to become active and erupt. And so one of these nights, the roses get damaged. Some of them die, and so in a panic, he starts realizing he needs to try to save his daughter, because again, his daughter is dying. So he has the idea of mixing Rose's cells with Godzilla cells. So now he's created this almost monster. You know, and he had all good intentions. He wanted to save what he thought would be his daughter, and then in doing so, created Biollante. So the first time we see that things probably did not go the way he thought it was going to is when some men break into his lab and are attacked. One is killed, but we never really get to see, you know, we only see the vines kill him. So I don't think it was Form 1 at that moment, but it was maybe like a precursor. That is kind of the start of Biollante. So, you know, it's a mixture of Godzilla, a human, and a rose. I don't think you can find another kaiju in Godzilla or in any other series that has such a unique origin story. And to go along with that, she has two different forms. So let's talk about the first form. This form is probably one of my favorite forms of her. I particularly like this form a lot. I know it doesn't get a lot of screen time. Biollante doesn't in general in her own film, but it's such a unique design. It's a mixture of being beautiful, but also, you know, being a monster. It's like almost like a Beauty and the Beast, but all put together. She's pretty much just a giant rose. You know, she can't really move. There's really no offensive capabilities that she has other than her own vines. You know, while yes, it might seem like boring in a way, like, you know, she's not able to fly or she doesn't have 3 heads, different things like that, or even crystals, but there's just something about it that I really like. And it might be just because of the fact that Biollante is one of the few kaijus that's plant-based. And I think it's a beautiful mixture, you know, a kaiju and a plant. So I think they really hit the design right out of the park. You know, even though she doesn't have like special abilities like other kaiju, she can defend herself, and she does in some ways. You know, as she becomes less like Erica and more maybe like Godzilla, she starts calling out to Godzilla and wants to almost like fight him in many ways, and maybe try to kill him and take his place. You know, it's never really said why. They're just more than brother and sister. They're related. They're the same being. So, you know, she does attack him with her vines like she did with the people in the beginning, but, you know, they don't really have much of an effect on him. She is able to pierce his skin with some of them and blind him temporarily from acid that they spit at, but overall they're more of a, you know, Godzilla kind of swats them away very easily. So that's kind of unfortunate for her. And also we come to find out that his atomic breath does a huge amount of damage to her. Because of that, you know, she is easily defeated the first time around. And some kind of cool things is that she has, you know, once she's defeated and gets basically burnt alive, you see these golden spores shoot out into the sky and go up into the atmosphere. In this little period of time, it shows hints of, or at least a quick glimpse of, the second form, which is definitely more monstrous than her first form. Biollante's second form is probably the most known out of both forms, mostly just because of the fact that in every kind of media or toys, this is the form that they use. I mean, X Plus just released a figure of her second form, which is massive. You know, it's definitely probably the most well-known form, and for good reasons. It's a monster. You know, it is massive. It towers over Godzilla throughout most of the fight. Not only does it look amazing on screen, but just the amount of work that had to go on behind screen, you know, like, you know, the guys moving everything, the guys really controlling it. The fact that they were able to bring this thing to life is just amazing. It is unique. Again, I think, like I said, like I know I say this a lot, but Biollante is so unique in each step of her life that you can't help but keep saying that. She now has a closer look to probably like an alligator with her long snout and sharp teeth, but also in the back you can actually see spinal plates starting to form. So still, trying to become like Godzilla maybe in a way. This form is a lot stronger, and because of the mask can actually overtake Godzilla, I feel like. But, the atomic breath still does a good amount of damage. But this time around she can defend herself in a couple of different ways. She still has the vines, I think that's probably always going to be her main attack, but she has almost this like acidy breath that she can kind of spray at Godzilla. So it's almost like an atomic breath that Godzilla has. Again, this is something that I don't know how much damage it does, because at this point other things were happening with Godzilla, so he was weaker. So, she might have been able to take him, but I don't know if that's just because of everything going on with him. Again, she's never going to be one of the strongest kaiju in the whole entire series. I don't think that was ever the case for her, but she definitely that second form can do a lot of damage. I mean, she pretty much wipes out all army forces, and that was just when she was appearing. She wasn't even fully shown yet. All the vines were coming out of the ground. She has a great entrance. I think my top 10 entrances, I said this entrance for Biollante is one of my favorites, and for good reason. It becomes, like, as you kind of see, it's a mixture of beauty again, because all the golden spores come down into the ground, but then all of a sudden it's completely different. She's now more of a monster. Erica is no longer part of the equation, and it's just amazing looking. So that's kind of about it for this form. Once she is defeated again, she does go back up into the atmosphere, so I do believe that she probably is able to come back if they ever wanted her to. I don't think she can actually ever die. I know that was something that they kind of questioned throughout the whole entire film. But with all that being said about the final form of Biollante, let's move on to my final thoughts about this great kaiju. So not only is Biollante one of my favorite kaijus, she's part of one of my favorite films of all time, Godzilla vs. Biollante. This is probably the most unique film in the Heisei series. It has so much, and I would strongly recommend people looking it up if you haven't. It's very easy to find now. It's available on DVD, Blu-ray. I know before, back in the day, it was very difficult to find, but now it's available pretty much everywhere. So some of my final thoughts. If you're interested in Biollante, I would definitely recommend picking up some of the Godzilla comic books from IDW. She makes appearances there, like in Rulers of Earth or Catalysm. She's in there for a little bit. While she doesn't play a huge role in all of these, she definitely has a comic book or two to her name. Also, Godzilla at World's End, which I did a review of. She's in that film. She's in that book. I would also strongly recommend picking that up. That's definitely a good read, and I think they find a way to bring her into that into that book some kind of unique way. Also, if you want to actually be her, she's in a couple of games as well. I would strongly recommend picking up the PlayStation 4 game, Godzilla. It's, while yes, it does have a mixed reaction, I strongly recommend it. If you have some questions about it, I would definitely look at my Let's Play. I used her, and you can kind of get an idea of what the game is like and how she is. Some other kind of final thoughts about her is, I believe that she's the reason why we have Space Godzilla. In Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, it is said the origin of said kaiju is from space, through a black hole that somehow G-cells got sent into. I'm sure it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's kind of the gist of it. And so, there's only been a couple of times that Godzilla cells have been in space at that point, and, it's hypothesized that it's either Biollante or Mothra. I think it's Biollante, especially when you compare the face-like area of Space Godzilla to Biollante. They look very similar. That just makes more sense to me. That at the end of the day works. So I don't believe it's because of Mothra, at least in my opinion anyway. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, if you did, subscribe for more, and I'll see everyone later. Bye.